For our Sunday meal today, we will be brining some pork chops and frying them in a pan, and they will be juicy and tender. So let's get our brine ready. You will need a quart of water. You will also need about 2 to 3 bay leaves, a tablespoon and a half of kosher salt, a couple of tablespoons of brown sugar, and you will need about a tablespoon of peppercorns. You can also put coriander. You can put a little mustard seed in there, but we're just going to keep it simple. I will be bringing this up to a boil and cooking it for about 3 to 5 minutes, cooling it down, and we will pour it on our pork chops. Our brine is boiling. After about 3 to 5 minutes, we will remove from heat and let it cool down to almost room temperature, and we will add about a teaspoon and a half or 2 of soy sauce. While our brine is cooling, we will prepare our pork chops to go in the bag with the brine. These are great looking pork chops. They're a little bit thin, which is the way we like them, and so they will not have to marinate very long. About 3 hours will do it for these in the refrigerator, 3 to 4 hours, but it is fine to leave them overnight as well if that works out with your time. I'm going to take a knife and split the fat a little bit, and I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes. Okay, you can see that I've prepared the pork chops by going around just about at 1 to 2 inch intervals and slitting the fat on the edge. This not only helps the marinade to soak in around the edge, but it also keeps the pork chop laying flat in the skillet when they are cooked. I'm going to put those down in a bag. We won't be salting these and peppering these until later when we rub a little marinade on them to cook. This is just for the brine to pour in around them. When our brine gets cool, we will fill our bag. Our brine has cooled down. I'm going to add a little bit of soy sauce. Gives it a nice deep color as well as some flavor. And that's about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. And I'm going to pour this brine into the bag. And this will sit in the refrigerator for 3 hours. Okay, I was doing this with one hand, so I had to stop the video to get it poured in. You can see they're just swimming in there, and that's what you want. The liquid can move around the pork chops. I will turn it about every hour. I'm going to put it back in the bowl, and this will go hang out in the refrigerator. See you back in 3 hours. Okay, it's almost time for our brined pork chops to come out of the fridge. So we're just going to make a little bit of marinade. This is just about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. It's about a tablespoon of oil. Some cracked black pepper, that was about a teaspoon, and about a half a teaspoon of sugar. The sugar won't make the pork chops sweet. It just gives a really good flavor. I'm going to mix this marinade up really well. And we will take it out of the brine in just a few minutes and brush it on and let it sit for another hour. Okay, we've pulled our pork chops out of the brine, and we are putting them on paper towel and just drying them off really well. You do not have to rinse them, just get the brine dried off as much as you can. It may take a few layers of paper towels. Okay, our pork chops are pretty dry. It took several paper towels to dry them off, or you can use kitchen towels. We'll take our marinade that we made earlier and just brush each side really well with the marinade. I'm going to flip it over and brush the other side on each pork chop. And this is going to sit for about an hour until we are ready to pan fry our pork chops. You can make this marinade thicker by adding a little ketchup, but I just made a thin marinade. I think that's fine. As I said, these are thin pork chops. If they were thicker, you would have kept them in the brine longer. So I'm gonna brush the other side. We're gonna set these out. I'll be back when we fry them. Okay, our pork chops have been marinating in our soy sauce mixture for about an hour, and we're ready to fry them in this pan. This is a carbon steel pan. It looks a little discolored. It's supposed to look that way. I'm trying to work with it and get it seasoned. And we'll be back in a few minutes and fry our pork chops. Okay, I'm gonna put these pork chops in. I'm gonna do mine one at a time right now. This is gonna cook for about 3 minutes on each side. And turn the heat down just a little so it's on about a low medium. I will come back. Okay, I went ahead and put two pork chops in at a time. Of course, we have these two waiting. And this is the first one I put in. It's been 3.5 minutes. Time to turn it. You see how beautifully brown that is, and trimming that fat helps it to lie down more flat. And we're going to keep frying these about 3 minutes per side. These are thin pork chops. You do not want to overcook them. So we'll be back to see our final product. The pork chops just came out of the skillet. You can see how tender they are. They're so juicy and good. So good. I hope you make this and enjoy it.